The majesty of the Himalayas makes believers out of atheists. When silence collides, who are we to signify? The seasons have changed. My distance shall be gauged.
I'm standing at a height of 4,850 meters above mean sea level. That is probably halfway to Mount Everest. This is the top of the Barlachla Pass, one of the highest amongst the 11 mountain passes traversed this year at the world's highest motorsport battle arena.
As you all know, it's one of the toughest rallies in the world.
It is something, like an addiction.
Terrain is arduous, right? High speeds, high altitude.
From 8,000 to 18,000 feet in a day.
I'm a Fauji. We have leave in the year. We sacrifice our leave to come and do this event.
Yeah, I think you gotta be slightly, off to do this kind of stuff.
We are praying to God just complete the rally. Raid is about completing the rally.
रेड में तो आपको पता है ये रेड तो अगर आप फिनिश करेंगे बहुत बड़ी बात है.
Mighty Himalaya, born of the great Pamir, relentless, formidable, and unforgiving. They say when you ascend the Himalayas, it is like entering a hall of lords. You feel humbled in the presence of sheer majesty. Another thing that humbles you is the culture of the Himalayas, something that has resided in the highest reaches of the world for thousands of years. Something as great and awe-inspiring as the Almighty's great sculptures in the company of which it thrives. Something that stays with you long after you descend back to mean sea level.
Now we've been covering this rally since 2009 and the experiences have been those that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. So this year we decided to reach back into hallowed antiquity and tell you the story of how this rally began, how it has grown in its 16-year history and why it draws people year after year despite testing their limits every single time.
Each raid has its own unique experience, right? No raid is like the other, let's put it that way. Over the last 16 years, every raid had something peculiar about it. We entered Patio Camp and I just looked at the sky and I could see a little bit of cloud, and somewhere the next day the snow came, right? And by the time the rally came in the evening, we had decent amount of snowfall and the snow kept falling through the night, and then me and Vijay were sitting in my room, which is the barracks of the Patio Camp. And at about 10 o'clock at night, we're contemplating kya kare, should we go ahead, should we not, should the cars go in, should we not? And then we hear this chan 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 big sound coming, We both rush out of the room, and there's a big stallion 4x4 army truck coming down Barlacha with huge snow chains on its wheels. We stop the fellow. He says, "Saab, बड़ी मुश्किल से मैं निकल के आया हूँ, ऊपर 2 फुट बर्फ पड़ चुकी है. बड़ी गाड़ी बड़ी मुश्किल से निकली, आपकी कोई गाड़ी जा नहीं पाई."
It was one of my toughest events and my favorite because I love snow, and we had a tough time on Barlacha Pass, and people from down in the plains don't understand the conditions in the snow. Visibility was just about zero and there were more than 80 cars stuck on the pass. So we had to convince people to leave their cars and their belongings there and just come with us.
The whole car was shaking. We stopped and found that even after stopping, the car was rolling. Then we realized it was a quake. When we looked out, the trees were shaking, the electricity poles were shaking, people were running. It was a major quake which lasted for quite some time.
My name is Abhishek Naren Singh. Welcome ladies and gentlemen to the North by Northwest special. Times Now's coverage of the 16th raid to Himalaya. Let the all-terrain rally tire roll.
Harry, do you have a visual on car number 29?
Fear gets into you and forces you to lift off, and the reality kicks in, And so it took a few minutes after that to get back to shape and say, let's push it now.
actually harrowing, when you get stuck on a mountain top, when you're at 16,000 feet, don't forget, 16,000 feet in the Himalayas is more than the Alps, right? And I had a German comparator sitting in my car with me, and he narrated his stories of the Alps, and they were nowhere nearly as harrowing as what he witnessed yesterday in the car with me.
In the arid lap of the Himalayas, 16 years ago, a cult was born. The cult of the Raid de Himalaya. Forged of brotherhood, the thrill for seeking out adversity and thriving in it, and the love for motorsport, among other things. The raid that took place in 1999 was worlds apart from the Raid de Himalaya that we know today. From the kind of drivers to the danger quotient, from the regulations governing the event to the safety norms put in place.
So the Raid de Himalayas, we all know, is now 16 years old. This is the 16th raid that we are running, right? The Raid de Himalayas, basically we started the Himalayan Rally, right? And the started somewhere in the 80s and went through till about 91 or something. And then it died its natural death. And somewhere, I know my friend Vijay used to be very excited about the Paris-Dakar videos that he had, right? And somewhere at the back of his mind, he always knew that he's going to emulate Paris-Dakar in some way and do an event which will rival one of the toughest events in the world. And that's how the Raid de Himalaya was born.
You see, if we go right to 1999, if I take you, 1990 is when the Himalayan Rally died. Let me start there. And then it was briefly filled in by an event called the Mountain Challenge, which sort of just ran in the Shivaliks and finished. Atul, Vijay and I, all three of us being from Simla, we'd often meet and, casually say we should do an event, The prompting came from a very different source. The BJP took charge of the state, and Mr. Dhumal floated an idea, or not an idea, he sort of queried his Secretary Youth Services that there used to be a very famous rally here. What happened to that, and why no motorsport? And that gentleman knew Atul well, so Atul was called in, and so the club was formed all in a rush, and in a matter of no time we were out doing the recce's here. So the push came from a very different source. The sort of urge to get into the sport was there, but casual at that point, And then we got in, we started with the 4-day event, and then sort of during the course of that first event and the recce's of the first event is when, we started to encapsulate what should be, what shouldn't be, what length of stages, safety backups, etc. Everything started to take shape then, And we've grown or matured from our initial days when we were only hung up on 100-kilometer stages. So you're racing a lot of dangerous area or going into villages which needn't be. And then over a period of time, fine-tuned the whole thing into what we are today.
Well, if you look back in 1999 and you want to trace back the roots of the raid, we were much younger then, far more enthusiastic about the whole motorsport scene. And we got down to it with a far greater will than I think we have today. And a large part of it is, of course, the passage of 15 years, the aging of the original guard and things like that. But yeah, I think we did a great, there was great progress between 1999 and 2001. It went up by leaps and bounds. And then it kind of plateaued around 2002. We couldn't really figure out how we were going to take it forward because the competitors were stuck at about 40, 45 and the raid was not going anywhere beyond that. So in 2003, I initiated the adventure trial as it was then, and we called it the reliability trial on its first run. And we introduced this as a category where an enthusiast could actually go there and learn rallying, because there are no rally schools in India. That probably accounts for the terrible driving standards. So 2003 saw a huge increase not only in participation but in the type of people that would come for the raid. And now that particular category is slowly growing and growing, and what I feel today is that the more interesting category, the extreme, is actually on its way out.
The Raid de Himalaya is the highest rally raid in the world. You need to be a special breed of bonkers to rally in the inhospitable terrain and unpredictable weather of the Himalayas. The raid is known to break the uninitiated and the old hands alike. It pushes them to the limit and then some more. Yet, year after year, the faithful return. Because they live by the old adage, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
I think it is the madness for motorsports. So that brings the officials back, that brings the volunteers, that brings the participants.
I would say that the people who are part of RAID, they share a common, I would say, mentality which for other normal people would be like madness. Something which is totally illogical to face stupid conditions, extreme harsh terrain and physical punishment, and still very happy to go next year.
I don't know why we keep coming back to this place, but I guess it's the aura of this raid, which gets us back every year. Aura of this event, no other event I feel in India has this kind of aura.
This is even tougher than any work that I've ever done in my life, right? This is the Himalaya, right? You're doing things which are different between life and death.
The 16th Raid de Himalaya began with the standard 2 days of technical scrutiny in Shimla. And then the ceremonial flag-off took place amidst the usual fanfare and camaraderie, a few hours of rest, and the real test would begin. The actual start of the raid this year was a little ahead of the dusty hamlet of Luri. The competitors took start with a sense of relief. Once word came in that the roughest and most scary stage of the day had been cancelled. It was a new addition to the raid's routes and was to run from the village of Kotlu to Katanda. So on day 1, the Raid Extreme ran for 326 kilometers and had 2 competitive stages.
First day is you got to be very careful. I mean, coming to the raid, it's not a one-day event and it's not a race, it's a rally and it's the raid. So you have to be very conservative, you have to see, and the other thing with the gypsies is it's a catch-22 situation. Yeah, with the gypsies, that is the day to make time because that's your day. After that, these big engines are going to catch up with you, and that's the gypsies' day. So at the same time, pushing the gypsy and also trying to save the car, both at the same time. And my normally thought is, since the rally, the car has been so well prepared, money's been spent, so push it on the first. I mean, it should have been well prepared for that to take up that beating. And let's see where one stands at the end of day 1.
Defending champion Suresh Rana was amongst the fastest runners on day 1. Aman Ahluwalia of Team Thunderbolt, Privateer Sanjay Agarwal and Lieutenant Colonel Shakti Bajaj of Team Army were keeping the pace. Amongst the bikers, Nick Sarao and Suresh Babu were amongst the fastest on day 1.
As always in the raid, the first day is the toughest. And the surface was very, very rough. The first stage was rough. It didn't look rough in the recce, but when we actually did the stage, it was rather rough. And if we would have run the second stage, that would have been a big game changer. Like, trust me, we wouldn't have seen most of us here.
The raid did not fall short on drama on day 1. Out of the 79 teams that took a start in Rally Extreme, 76 successfully made it to the end. Nishant Pal Yadav and Chirag Thakur of Team Tusker turned turtle in the middle of a competitive stage and ended their rally. Baljit Singh of Chandigarh sustained a minor injury after falling from his bike and had to quit the raid too. Major Dankar and Major Ravi Dillon of Team Army Adventure had a radiator bust in their vehicle and bowed out. But this was only the beginning. The raid would not be happy about having to settle for just 3 scalps on day 1. This would come back to haunt some people, and that too with interest.
Day 1 was pretty good. The second stage got cancelled, and that was where we had our doubts because it was a very rough stage. So it was a relief for that stage to get cancelled. Stage 1 and stage 3, we pretty much just drove through, keeping in mind the incidents that we've had in previous years. And we wanted to make sure that we reach Manali safe and sound without any hiccups. So yeah, all in all, it was pretty good. The stage was rough, no doubt. There was a little bit of slush. There was rough sections, so it was a mixed bag of pretty much everything.
The second leg of the 16th Raid de Himalaya would run the longest single competitive stage of the rally. 76.32 kilometers of terrain straight from rallying hell. This is where rally cars come to break. The ones that survive can brave the rest of the raid with relative ease, barring the one day they return on this very route. This is the legendary temple of Kunzum Devi, the goddess after which this pass is named. Now each vehicle that crosses the pass does a parikrama of the temple to pay their respects to the goddess and take her blessings for the journey forward. The Kunzum Devi temple is smack in the middle of leg 2, and the raid is running a single stage today, a single stage which is the legendary stage of Gramfu to Losar. The competitors love this stage for its fast flowing sections, but they're also wary of the rough patches in between. Let's see what the raid has to throw at the competitors today. Special Stage 4 Gramfu to Losar, a route that has become legendary at the Raid de Himalaya, both for the car and back-breaking drive it has in store, and also for the nature of its ever-changing terrain. The cars will break, the bikes will shine, and those who come out unscathed will be lucky to have the blessing of Kunzum Mata.
ग्राम्फू टू लोसर सबसे टफ स्टेज है, रेड की सबसे टफ स्टेज मानी जाती है। तो इसमें कुछ पैच वाइज को मतलब गाड़ी को आपको चलाना पड़ता है। कुछ 15 किलोमीटर जैसे आपको अच्छा मिलता तो आपको अच्छा तरीके से चलानी पड़ती है। जहाँ रफ़ आएगी तो फिर आपको गाड़ी भी सेव करनी पड़ती है। तो स्ट्रेटजी चेंज होती रहती है बीच बीच में कि कैसे चलाना। तो ये वो स्टेज
It's a mixed bag again. It's got huge straights where you can really it's really exciting with those straights, and generally those huge straights are have a huge surprise at the end. So I think it's all about that excitement and that rush, because no matter in any other stage, you're either climbing up or you're descending down. Here you're doing everything. There are flats, there's climbing, there's rough sections, there's a riverbed. It's just by the end of it, 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers before the finish, the driver would be asking, how much to go? It takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on the vehicle as well.
9-time raid champion Suresh Rana, driving a Grand Vitara for Team Maruti, maintained his fantastic lead in leg 2. Abhishek Mishra, also in a Vitara, driving for Team Thunderbolt, was behind Rana by 6 minutes, with Captain AVS Gill coming in third in his trusty Maruti Gypsy.
Everything, it's a long stage. Yesterday it was a rough stage. A lot of things went off, our lights went off, guards went off. But that's a part of rally. The car do break. But then at the end of it, you fix it up. It's back again,
Among the bikers, Nataraj R of TVS Racing maintained the top position on day 2, riding a TVS RTR 450. Nataraj literally flew through the stages and completed the 76.32 kilometer Gramfu Losar stage in 78 minutes. If our math is correct, at his speeds, he was covering a kilometer of the rough rally stage in just over a minute. That was something which got even the most seasoned veterans to raise their eyebrows.
Day 2 Kaza stage, 80 km stage, toughest stage. Totally manpower, machine power, full hard rocks.
Second among bikers was Suresh Babu, riding a Suzuki RMX 450Z. Raj Singh Rathore of Team Polaris was behind Rana by only 23 seconds on the first day and was running second. Rathore lost his way in the stage and dropped to 10th position by the end of leg 2.
Gramfu Losar was one stage where, one needs to push because the time difference, that's when you catch up with the other person, and the time differences are huge. Yeah, so I took off as usual. We went pedal to metal, and to our luck, in the first 7 kilometers we had a flat. So we lost about good 6 minutes there. And again, by then 2 cars had overtaken us. So we again tried to catch them up and eating the dust up. And yeah, we lost about 6 minutes there. And just getting onto the Kunzum Pass, our front bull guard fell off and it jacked the car up. So it was literally like on 2 wheels were in air, which had never happened before. I didn't know what had happened. It's taken off or what could be this. So eventually when I came out, we saw the bull guard had broken and it had jacked the car up. So we had to reverse it, put it down. We lost about 4-5 minutes there also. So in all, I lost about 15 minutes yesterday by the end of it. So yeah, I'm trying to catch up now. I don't have any other option.
38 vehicles took start in Rally Extreme and 34 vehicles were able to successfully reach the finish line. In the Moto Extreme, 37 bikers took start and 30 were able to make it to Kaza at the end of the day. 11 vehicles retired in a day. And the raid was just warming up as the temperature dropped and the fatigue set in. The raid beyond the Kunzum Pass would come with its own set of challenges. And then some more.
With the cars in better condition, they went on to the Kaza stage, which we've run since 1999. And from that, I found that the stage to be much rougher than it was in the past 2-3 years. And we had a lot of attrition on that day. The Kaza stage was supposed to take out most of the, let's say, the chaff from the grain, separate that, and sure it did.
We'll be back next weekend with our coverage of the highest motorsport battle arena in the world. Stay tuned.